that this is not only the largest nurses' strike in the history of the United States, it's also the most successful.
The information that we had gotten in preparation for the negotiation time was the percentage and the numbers of part-time and full-time nurses, and we had, based on some of that information, we saw a dramatic drop in the part-time full-time ratio, so that we were down to about, it was 30, well in 82 it was 50-50. In 84 it had dropped to 70%, or 30% full-time, 70% part-time. Weren't as major as much as layoffs had been taking place. Some layoffs were the big issues. In 83, there had been a large layoff which had been poorly handled at a hospital. And it was in arbitration when we entered negotiations. The arbitration award, or hearing, I wouldn't call it an award, the arbitration decision was made public in March. Into March of 84, and within a week of it, and that decision was in favor of the hospital's poor handling of it. And within a week or so of that, another hospital pursued the same style of layoff, which was sort of a mass cutting, just lopping a shift here and there from everybody, giving no real credibility to long-term people or any. Everybody could lose a shift here.
So it was security of the position
too. It was job security.
And seniority came to mean almost nothing.
Right. That second layoff in the midst of negotiations was really, I mean, it was like lighting a gas can. Dropping a match in a gas can is what happened. It was really explosive. And that, I think, as is fairly typical with the hospitals, is sometimes, everybody has to pick and choose their battles. Sometimes they don't pick theirs very wisely. It was a poor battle to choose on their part.
And seniority came to mean almost nothing.
Right. So we'd set a date, and when it came down to, right down to it, that that's what was going to have to happen, the committee, there were tears on that committee, because we had to realize, much as Audrey had to in '66, that perhaps, we knew what we had to do. We had to reject the offer. We had to call for a strike vote. And we had to make the nurses know that what it meant to take a strike vote was not that you figured you were going to settle at the last minute. There was no last minute settling. There could be, but not to bank on that. Not to strike with that in mind.
Yeah.
And that, the purpose of a strike was to be as strong and to stay out as long as it took. Not, of course, that's always the question, is how long will it take? How long do we have to be out? As it was 39 days. More women who are left to be sole breadwinners of their families, and even some of the older women that may not have thought striking was a good idea, all of a sudden here they were left alone to care for their families for one reason or another, and realize that we can't depend on them to take care of us. We have to make the determination for ourselves and for our. But our whole thing was, we had to decide among this committee to face the nurses and to be able to say, if it folds, some of you guys might get jobs back. This committee will not work in the Twin Cities again, probably.
But I think that there is an inheritance here that is honorable and strong and admirable. And we aren't through with problems. In a lot of respects, we're going back to the 30s in terms of what the patients are living with and contending with. The need to be organized, and the need to be strong, and the need for one another is just as great or greater than it was before.
However, I see the generation of that are now 20 years old stronger as women and more assertive, and that's the thing I want about my life.
But I don't see that the nurse isn't going to want in the future her dignity, her rights as a person, and the ability to give safe care to the patient. I think those are inherent in nursing, and I think those are the things that are going to keep bubbling up so that nurses do stay together, do march into the future organized.
Through hearing the history and the strength of the history, particularly of the Nursing Association, that people will hear what others have given up, what others have worked so hard for and struggled so hard for, that'll help carry the torch through the times ahead that I think are going to be very difficult in the labor movement.
It really means to me that every single person needs to step up and to understand that we are not fighting for ourselves, and we all know that when we go to work every day, we don't go for ourselves. It's never about you. It's always for the patients, and it's about the rest of the country setting a standard in Minnesota that nursing means a high standard to us. I really think that this is a landmark event for the future and the standards, and that the patients will benefit so much more in the long run than the conditions that could suffice if we settled for this contract. I will go on strike. I see the nurses that have been on my unit for 10 plus years, 15 plus years, 20 plus years. There's a couple nurses that started working on my unit before I was born, and I see their commitment to patients, and their support of me has been totally unwavering since day one, and I really see how much they treat us as a team. It really is treating our patients as a team, and it's so inspiring, and they deserve to have everything that they truly have worked for. I'm 25 years old, soon to be 26, and I am representing the younger nurse generation, that we care, that we are here, and we are committed to changing the face of nursing as long as we are in this profession, and that we will all stand together to be there for all of this.
It's also going to strengthen you in ways that you never dreamed of before, and it will make you overall a better nurse. Going for the unit closure was absolutely vital and necessary to continue functioning as a nurse in the hospital, and also for the protection of the patients. It was extremely vital, and I would do it all over again if need be. Quite obviously, the hospitals have not learned that nurses need to be in charge of nursing care delivery, not the MBAs in the offices. I am preparing for a strike. I am hoping against hope that we will not need to go on strike. It is always best to come to a resolution that is acceptable to both sides, but I will not let them erode nursing practice as we have it today.
That you're never alone. You're always either with other nurses all the time, and there's a big network that becomes supportive. And then not only that, there's all the community people, other occupations that support you. I knew I was doing the right thing, and I knew we were going forward. We were standing up for something that I truly believed in, and with that, you take each day. There are resources. I've been trying to connect with my staff nurses, and we're getting information through MNA now and AFL-CIO about things that you can practically do to talk to your mortgage lender, talk to your credit card company, that will be there to support each other. And I do think we have the whole nation of nurses looking at us.